Now, many times when I want to create a perspective view in Photoshop, but I'm not working with an existing photograph, I will set up the same kind of a grid so that all my shapes can follow the right perspective. Now, to create those vanishing points here might require a very large file. So what I do is I create my guidelines in Illustrator. More than one reason for that. One being, of course, that I have all this room and it's fairly RAM friendly. But the other thing is the blend tool in Illustrator makes it a lot easier. Since now I'm not dealing with existing vanishing points, I'm creating them from scratch, and all the guidelines that I need are not following existing objects. I just need a grid that I can work with. Let's say I have this Photoshop file, and I look at the dimensions that I've created. It's 7 inches wide by 5 inches high. I switch over to Illustrator, and I create a box. Get my rectangular tool here, and I'm just going to option click so I can get the actual dimensions that I want here. And I'm going to say that I want it to be 7 inches by 5 inches. And I get this nice little box. That's the size of my final image in Photoshop. But now, being Illustrator, I have this large area that I can work from. So I'm going to set up my horizon line exactly where I want it. Way out here like that. And I can move it into any position that I want. So let's just say we take it and bring it down a little bit right to there. And I can establish my vanishing points anywhere I want. So let's just say that we're going to run our line across like this to the vanishing point and down. Let's give this no fill so it'll be nice and transparent. Take this line and just bring it up a little bit so we can see it like that. And we make sure this is right on the horizon line. Now we're way beyond the actual dimensions of the file, but we're establishing our perspective grid. Likewise, I'm going to go on this side and create another set. Come down to here and over. So now I have a perspective grid that I can follow right through here. Now what I want to do is set up my little guides to be brought into Photoshop. Now I have these long lines. I don't need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these guides to exactly where I want them. Right there, there, and let's cut it there. Likewise with this one. Let's make it nice and long. Goes right up to the edge of that image. And we're going to cut it right there and there. Now we can get rid of all this extra stuff. Dump those and dump these. There's my basic shapes. And what I'm going to do now is get closer so we can see what we're doing. Is I'm going to select these 2 points. This one and that one. And I'm going to take my blend tool. I'm going to double click on it and say specified number of steps. So let's leave it at 8 for now and click OK. And I'm going to click from one point right there to the other one. And it's going to create all my little grids in between. I'm going to select those, a whole bunch, and copy them to the clipboard. Then I can go back to my Photoshop file, and I will paste. Now here, we might want to pull back a little so we can see the entire area, because what's going to happen is this is going to truncate it somewhat. So now let's paste it again. And let's bring it up so that we have our shapes matching. Just like that. And it falls into its own layer, which we can call left grid. Now the same is done for the opposite side. Here we can delete those. I will select these and do the same command. One to the other. These can then entirely be copied. Go back to Photoshop and paste them again. And these we enlarge till we have the size we want. And this becomes the right grid. Since these are layers, They can be brought down in opacity, and they're simply guides into which we can now start to draw all our shapes. So let's just turn off the right grid for a second, and in here we are going to draw our little windows. So I can use my pen tool and say, well, here's a little window that goes down like that, comes across and up and down. Then I have another one here, goes across, over, up, down. And maybe there's one way over here. This is the doorway. Straight down, across, up, and over. And I can always go in there and adjust these so that they follow my grid, and I'll have true perspective in my drawing.